You're watching Weasel News.
I just want to make notation of a couple of things tonight. So while I do have two judges behind me, I have Circuit Judge Hillard, who will just be aiding with the training, and Magistrate Sunny Day Kavanaugh will be in training. So while there are going to be objections tonight, we will take a brief pause while I speak quietly with Magistrate Kavanaugh to kind of go over the process for that. So if you can just bear with me and your patience while we go through that. Does that make sense before I proceed with everything else? Okay, perfect. So this is in the matter of 2024 CV007 Black Lotus Motorcycle Club versus the Los Santos Police Department. Before we begin, I want to go over a couple of ground rules. We do have a fairly packed courtroom today. I don't know if there is anyone else outside. If there are, after a bit of time, if there are no issues, I will continue to let more people in. If we do experience issues, I will ask some members of the gallery to leave the courtroom. Does that make sense? Okay. So before we begin, I want to remind everyone the importance of maintaining decorum and respect. This is a court of law, and it is essential that all parties involved, including the attorneys, witnesses, and spectators, conduct themselves accordingly, as well as the news agencies that I believe are in here, because I was asked several times. Certain rules that need to be adhered to: all electronic devices, including mobile phones, radios, must be switched off or set to silent. Conversation should be kept to an absolute minimum and conducted in a whisper so as to not disrupt proceedings. Respect for all participants is mandatory. Any disruptive behavior, including heckling, laughing, or talking, will not be tolerated. Unauthorized entry into restricted areas is strictly prohibited. Physical or verbal intimidation, harassment, or any forms of misconduct towards any participant will result in consequences by the court. Failure to comply with court officer instructions, which is today Rick Rollin, will result in sanctions or expulsion from the courtroom. Any deviation from these rules or protocols, including the legislation and criminal code, will result in the appropriate sanctions as inferred by the court. So without further ado, if the plaintiff can state their name for the record, please.
I will be representing the plaintiffs today. My name is Hydra Dalton of Dalton Law, representing Black Lotus Motorcycle Club.
And the respondent, please.
Gary Schumann of the Department of Justice, representing the Los Santos Police Department as a respondent in this matter.
Ross with the Department of Justice.
Perfect. Before we begin, are there any pretrial motions or anything that I have not addressed that was on the docket?
The state has... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, okay. Well, we'll just go through them together, I suppose, because we both made some motions before court. On line 32, I believe, is when we made additional requests for subpoena. I believe all the people that were requested are here present, and we just want to ensure that they are able to go on the stand. That being Nick Murray, who was employed with Raven Repair at the time the vehicle is being invoiced. I believe the state asked for Justin Cook, Surgeon General with Pillbox Hill Hospital, to be an expert witness, of which we objected. We have a few.
Let's go line by line.
Okay.
So for Nick Murray, is there any objection from the state?
Yes, Your Honor. State objects Nick Murray due to conflict of interest, as he's also employed by the Los Santos Police Department.
I failed to see how that is conflict of interest. He is testifying.
Sorry.
Are you referring to Duncan Murray, Mr. Schumann?
I thought you said Nick Murray.
Yeah, Nick Murray. Is he an officer?
Oh, no. Sorry. You're right. Sorry about that.
So Nick Murray is individually employed. I believe he works with Beaker's Garage now, but he previously was working with Raven Repair.
So is there no objection?
No objection.
Okay, I'll approve that. Moving on to the Surgeon General being attached as an expert witness, correct? That's your objection?
So our objection to this witness being called as an expert witness, he has been called by the plaintiffs to testify to medical reports that he has written, as well as other medical professionals within his employ, to call him as an expert witness at that point when he has that intimate knowledge of some of the treatments that he's already conducted doesn't make much sense in the course of having an expert witness that's going to be 100% non-biased in that regard.
Okay, what's the rebuttal from the state?
Your Honor, he was only listed under the medical provider for one of the plaintiffs in the case. The state doesn't have an objection for him not to testify as an expert in that instance, but for the other two or all the other injuries that were sustained, we don't feel like it would be a conflict at all. If anything, it's going to give the court and all of its participants here more of an insight into the injuries, give us a better understanding of, where the liability lies in this case, which is what we're here for.
Okay. Really quickly, I just have a question for Dr. Cook. Can he just quickly approach and get sworn in before I ask the question?
All right, make sure you're speaking up and raise your right hand. All right, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Dr. Cook, really quickly, I only have one question for you, and then I'll allow the parties to ask you questions if they so please. But my only question for you today is, given the nature of your name being on the reports and you being called as an expert witness, do you think that you'll be able to act impartially by answering the questions imposed by both counsel today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Does the plaintiff or the respondent have any questions before I put him back down and make my decision whether or not we'll allow the witness?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Dr. Cook, thank you. You can go back into the gallery. Just remember that whenever you do get called back up here, you're still under oath. Okay, give me 1 second, okay? Okay, I'm going to allow Dr. Cook to be called as an expert witness. As he testified under oath, he'll be impartial with his responses. If at any point in time there seems to be some form of bias or anything of the nature, as always, you can address the court and inform the court, and we'll handle it then and there. Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Moving on, was there another witness or anything else that I've missed?
Line 38, the plaintiffs requested Imogen McCoy and Calvin Shuey to be subpoenaed. Imogen McCoy, her subpoena was never approved, and she's informed me that due to circumstances beyond her control, she will not be here today. But we do have Calvin Shuey, who is present. Mr. Shuey is part of the convoy and is not a member of the Black Lotus Motorcycle Club.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll allow that then. Next from the plaintiff.
We also had a few people who also had circumstances beyond their control to which they could not come, and they were not able to provide subpoenas before they were forced to leave state for other obligations. That being Travis and Hattie Grimes will not be present, and also I believe Seven Bright. I don't think her subpoena was ever approved, or no, hers was, but she also will not be present. And Felix Fox was called, but I don't think his subpoena was approved. So all four of those people we'd like to release from their subpoenas.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else? Before I let the respondent address with theirs.
No, I believe that's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. And for the respondent, your pretrial motions or anything that I missed on the docket?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to relieve Detective Lombardi from his subpoena, if allowed. He was not able to make it tonight due to things out of his control. And the respondent has no objections to relieving the plaintiff's witnesses, as long as they're okay with ours being relieved as well.
Is there any issue from the plaintiff from releasing Lombardi?
Considering that Joseph Lombardi is an essential part of this case, but he has written testimony in the way of a police report, if we're all okay with that being used in lieu of his testimony, then we have no objections.
Respondent.
That is fine, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll approve that. Anything else?
And we do have one other. This isn't very common, but could we have a roll call for all the witnesses here? That way, both parties can take note of who's all here and prepare.
Yes. However, I don't have your list. So each side, I'll give you a minute to prepare your lists, and then I will have you do your internal roll call.
I believe I have all of them, Your Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor, the respondent just mirrored their witness list.
So I don't care who does it, the plaintiff or the respondent, but if they can just call the name of each witness, and if you are the witness, if you can please just stand up. Before you do that, though, Attorney Dalton, can you email me the list of the witnesses, please?
Yes, one moment. Okay, I've emailed all the names to you, Your Honor, that are currently under subpoena. And I can do the roll call if the respondent doesn't object. Or I'll send you that list too, actually.
We have no objections for the plaintiff doing the roll call, Your Honor.
Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Here, I'll just go ahead and list it out, and if I forget one on the respondent side, you just let me know. Tommy Legend is the gentleman in the wheelchair, so I'll ask him not to stand up for obvious reasons. Jackson Corsair. Macy Corsair. Dr. Justin Cook, who's up earlier. Dr. Maggie McCormick. Nick Murray. Calvin Shuey. Tiago Hernandez. Eric Wilson. Carson Fowler. Chase Turner. Bruce Payne. And I believe there's an officer named Erin. I'm sorry, I forgot her last name. I'll add that to the list, but I think she's been called as well, if that's right. I did not.
Okay, yeah, that's just a respondent witness, and she's present.
Oh, sorry, that name was Erin Barlow.
Okay. And before we proceed, if you are here as a witness and your name was just not read, can you please just stand up and say something just so that we can clear that up and make sure you're not here for no reason? Okay, perfect. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Perfect. All right. Let's move with the plaintiff's opening statement.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. On February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2024, Black Lotus Motorcycle Club was enjoying their regularly scheduled public ride. While they were riding their motorcycle convoy down Route 68 going westbound, a police cruiser with lights but no siren came into their lane from the opposite direction from around a blind corner and hit the front of the convoy head-on. Tommy Legend, Jackson Corsair, and Macy Corsair were struck by the police cruiser and thrown from their motorcycles. There was no warning of the officer's approach until it was too late, and he was in the wrong lane of travel at an excessive speed of 100 miles plus per hour. After striking the motorcycle convoy, Cadet Derek Wilson got out of his police cruiser and started repairing it. While riders voiced concerns to him and asked for medical assistance, he called for backup, and Detective Joseph Lombardi arrived on the scene. Lombardi then directed Wilson and himself to treat those who were injured, call for medics, and take complaints. After he got a grasp of the incident, Detective Lombardi called for a supervisor. After being treated by doctors at Pillbox Hill Medical Center, it was determined that Tommy Legend had a head laceration, a traumatic brain injury, also known as a TBI, a compound fracture of 2 bones in his right arm, shattered right clavicle bone, 4 ribs on his right side were broken, a fractured left leg, and a spine fracture that affects the spinal cord and led to lower limb paralysis. Jackson Corsair had a compound fracture to his right arm, a hairline fracture to his skull, his 3rd rib punctured his left lung, and he had damage to his liver. His wife, Macy Corsair, who was on the back of Jackson's motorcycle, suffered from a minor concussion, whiplash, and a few minor scrapes and bruises. In addition to this, in the incident report that was released to my clients, the report states that Detective Lombardi was a passenger in Cadet Wilson's cruiser when he struck the motorcycle convoy. My clients argued that Cadet Wilson was alone in the vehicle and Detective Lombardi came afterwards. There are no other officers who could testify to this, as they were not initially on scene when Wilson and Lombardi arrived on scene. But there are many witnesses from the convoy. My clients assert that Cadet Wilson drove recklessly in a way that could have killed someone or seriously injured more than just those that were mentioned. On a road that curves very suddenly at times, sirens are important to utilize so that traffic is aware that there is an emergency vehicle approaching. It's also extremely dangerous to take a turn at 100 miles per hour and cross the lines of traffic to pass someone around a corner. Context: if a baseball pitcher threw a baseball at 100 miles per hour, you would have 0.3 seconds to react and hit the baseball as a batter. Less than a quarter of a second for your whole life to change without the time to do something about it. What was once a peaceful community event became a very painful and traumatizing ordeal for everyone involved. Law enforcement in this city should be held accountable, which is why my clients are presenting this lawsuit to the court. In the Court of St. Andreas, in a civil matter, the burden of proof is a preponderance of evidence, meaning that the plaintiffs only have to prove that more likely than not, it is true that Los Santos Police Department was at fault for the accident and acted negligently. The damages we seek are so high because the lives of those affected were changed in ways that they can't ever get back, and there should be restitution for that. Limbs were lost, mobility was lost, and so was trust in the law enforcement in the state. We ask that the court to find the respondent liable and rectify this wrong through the justice system. Thank you.
Respondent.
All right. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the gallery, today we find ourselves sitting and looking at an incredibly fateful incident that occurred on February 14th. A day that has rippled through the lives of the members of the Black Lotus Motorcycle Club and has sent through shockwaves into the chain of command of the Los Santos Police Department and its officers, including Cadet Derek Wilson. What has translated into an incident that involved injuries. To truly understand the situation in which these events unfolded, you're going to need to understand that there was strict adherence to protocols of law enforcement and the risk associated with emergency response. First thing I want to cover is the activation of emergency lights. First and foremost, we need to make this clear. Cadet Wilson followed, without any shortcuts, very strict standard operating procedures of the Los Santos Police Department. This includes the activation of emergency lights and sirens during response. This critical fact is supported by departmental records and testimony we shall present, pointing to the officer following established safety protocols, conveying a signal to the public to minimizing jeopardy of the members of the public during a high-speed response. But the nature of emergency response is unpredictable. Emergency response are ever-changing and complex situations that are split-second decisions must be made by officers in best interest of the public. This was, therefore, a decision made to the high-speed, call in context of the urgent call for service. That's what you're going to hear. Officers were responding to what they call a 1078, which is an urgent response, a 1080, which is a pursuit. You're going to hear these terms in officer testimony. The actions Cadet Wilson undertook on that day, back up a little bit. The adherence to protocol and officer training. It cannot be overemphasized that by the time of Cadet Wilson's career, as well, he was well within his right to be on patrol. However, it is to note that this was his second day of full uniform sworn service. The actions Cadet Wilson undertook on that day just fell in place with the intensive training and protocols and guidance each LSPD officer has taken place in their rising throughout the department. Post actions that we're going to hear. So after the incident, officers at the scene, such as Cadet Wilson and Detective Lombardi, acted immediately to ensure the medical care for the injured was secured. This further goes to show the commitment to the community and the procedures set by the department for post-unforeseen events. While it's the deepest sympathies lie with the plaintiff over their injuries, however incurred, there is a need to draw a line between the unfortunate accident and liability. What Wilson, a cadet, did was act in the line of duty and under the guidance and policies of the LSPD, all aimed at ensuring public safety and officer safety. This crash, despite lights and sirens initiated and all training adhered to, doesn't qualify as a negligence by Cadet Wilson or the Los Santos Police Department. The LSPD is here to serve and protect. First and foremost, they were pursuing active felons that had just committed one of the most heinous crimes that can happen in the state of San Andreas. Again, we will hear that during testimony. That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you. If the plaintiff has their first witness that they would like to call our first piece of evidence, they may do so now.
Your Honor, we'd like to call Tommy Legend to the stand. Adjacent to the stand.
Wherever he's more comfortable.
All right. If you could speak up and raise your right hand. All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right. Witness been sworn in.
Your witness.
First and foremost, good afternoon. Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name's Tommy Legend.
Can you run us through the details of the incident that occurred on February 14th?
I can to the best of my ability, but I honestly do not remember much from that day aside from setting out from the compound for our weekly public ride.
That's fine.
It was
just what you can recall.
As far as I remember, it was going swimmingly. We had just left Sandy. We were heading down, I believe it was Route 68. And then pretty much not long after that, it's just nothing but blackness.
Okay. Do you remember how many people were in the convoy?
We had a significant turnout, one of our better ones. I would say in the neighborhood of around 30, I believe. 30 plus.
Okay. So you don't remember anything related to the crash because of your incident, is that correct?
No.
Okay. That's fine. What injuries did you sustain after this incident?
From what I was told, I had a severe head laceration.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I mean,
how is this hearsay? He's the one that actually experienced the injuries that we're asking about.
Your Honor, the state recalls that objection. We can continue.
Oh, this is gonna get annoying. I'm gonna just stand over there with the magistrate. Sure. Yeah, that's how I was gonna rule anyways. Continue with the line of questioning. You can answer the question.
All right, as I was saying, when I was told when I woke up from the coma that I was in, I had suffered a severe laceration as well as essentially, I guess, a concussion, TBI. I'm not frankly familiar with the term. My clavicle was shattered. I broke several ribs. My arm was broken completely. I ended up having a couple of vertebrae in my neck fractured, as well as one of my the backbone. I'm not familiar with the term, but one of my my vertebrae in my back was broken. That apparently impinged the nerve severely, leading to me not being able to feel anything from that point lower, as well as a compound fracture in my leg.
Great, thank you, Mr. Legend. That must have been very difficult to deal with. At this time, we would like to submit Plaintiff Exhibit G, which is the medical reports for Tommy Legend. That's G1 through G6. We won't go into depth with these, but we wanted them for the context of the court. We'll be asking later medical professionals to go over these reports, but this is to just go over the treatments and injuries sustained by Mr. Legend.
Okay.
All right. How have these injuries affected your daily life?
Pretty severely. I've come to learn that this state isn't very handicap accessible. The amount of stairs and lack of wheelchair ramps has made getting around the state and to various facilities a complete nightmare. There's certain things as far as my personal care that I haven't been able to maintain. My fighting career is pretty much at an end. I haven't been able to partake in riding any of the multiple bikes that I own. I can't even get out there and enjoy, hunting anymore. And there's almost nothing I can do in the city aside just from wheeling around and being present. So take that for what you will.
In this incident, was your motorcycle damaged in any way?
Almost completely totaled.
Okay. At this time, we're going to submit Plaintiff's Exhibit F, which is the invoice for repairs for Mr. Legend's motorcycle. Mr. Legend, if you could you refer to this exhibit? It's going to be on line 9 of the docket.
One moment.
Yeah, of course.
All right. What was the exhibit?
That was Exhibit F, Plaintiff Exhibit F, which is the invoice for vehicle repairs for Tommy Legend.
Yes.
Okay. Referring to that, how much did it say that your vehicle repairs were?
$2,502.
And you, who was the service person that worked on your vehicle?
Karina Bale.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
State. Sorry, respondent.
How's it going, sir?
Been better.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate what's happened to you, and you're or injuries. I'll say that myself. But I guess that's why we're here, to figure out, who's liable for that. So, I'll ask you a question. How long you been a member of the Black Lotus?
Going on 9 years now.
Okay. As an avid motorcycle rider myself, I know obviously the question isn't when are you gonna to drop your bike. It's when you're gonna get in an accident. Or the question is if you're not, it's when. Is that correct? Would you say that's like a known saying around motorcycle people?
Objection, opinion.
All right, I'm just starting a rapport with the witness.
Can you repeat the question really quick? Sorry, I was taking notes while you were asking.
Asking if it's a known saying through motorcycle riders if it's not if you're going to get into an accident, it's when you're going to get into an accident.
Yeah, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
I have heard the saying before, but I don't abide by it. I take my riding responsibly and in my own hands.
Oh, absolutely. But as you know, sometimes it's not the rider's fault why, when an accident happens. So with that in mind, have you ever gotten to an accident before?
Yes.
Okay, when was that?
Several.
Okay, when was the most recent one?
The most recent one was when the officer decided to careen his ride through our public ride.
Okay. What about the one before that?
Don't much remember it, but it was when I was performing tail gunner duties for one of our public rides.
Okay. What's your position in your organization?
I am a patch member of Black Lotus.
Okay, that's it. You're just a member.
Objection asked and answered.
It was a clarifying question, Your Honor.
Move on with this question.
Okay. Okay, so you said your motorcycle was damaged, such and such. In those 9 other accidents that you testified to, was your motorcycle ever involved in those, or were those all separate motorcycles that you're involved in?
Objection, relevance. I failed to see how his driving history relates to this incident in particular, in which he was not at fault.
Your Honor, do you even need a rebuttal for that?
I'll just have you just give one quick rebuttal.
We're talking about the damages to the motorcycle. If we can determine that the motorcycle was already damaged or have had damage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
An objection foundation.
You put the motorcycle down for your claim. There's the foundation.
I'll allow this line of questioning.
So that bike had been in accidents before, but I am a certified motorcycle mechanic, have been for years up to this point. I take road safety incredibly seriously, to the point that I will not field a bike that is not roadworthy.
Your Honor, the state requests that everything he said other than that was involved in an accident prior be strict from the record.
Any rebuttal from the...
Which parts are you specifically asking to be stricken?
Everything other than him saying it is, because it was a yes or no question.
We object because this adds some context to his experience with his motorcycles and the care thereof, which the respondent has been asking about this whole entire time.
Then the plaintiff can ask that on their redirect.
What was the question? I heard the answer.
Has your motorcycle been involved in an accident prior? And then he went on to talk about how he's a certified motorcycle technician or something along those lines, which has nothing to do with the relevance of the question.
Yeah, sure. We'll strike it if the plaintiff wants to bring it up. You may.
Okay, just for clarification, you said it has been involved in accidents?
Yes.
Okay. That's it for now, Your Honor.
Plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Legend, what experience do you have in the maintenance and care of motorcycles?
Objection, Your Honor, relevancy.
He just asked about his experience with those motorcycles and making sure it was roadworthy.
Objection, Your Honor. If you can have the court clerk go back and see what I asked. I did not ask anything in regard to that matter. We're here to see the dispute of injury and damage to a motorcycle. So his relevance as a motorcycle tech has nothing to do. And if she wanted to bring motorcycle tech into this, she should have called an expert witness. Expert witness should have been reviewed by the court and submitted just as we did. So yes, we object.
Your Honor, this whole line of questioning by the respondent has been about whether or not his vehicle was roadworthy. If he has experience in maintaining said vehicle, I believe it's relevant to this question.
So, give me the relevance. I don't care about his line of questioning. Give me the relevancy towards the case. This question.
Because the vehicle in question was destroyed and had to be repaired, I want to know his experience with the repairs and how they We'll just continue, Your Honor.
Okay.
Was your motorcycle roadworthy prior to the ride on February 14th?
Absolutely.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
The witness has already stated that he had a compromised mental state and recollection of the event, asking
I'm
for
talking
his...
about prior to the incident, which he was testifying to.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd ask if the plaintiff in this case would not cut me off while I'm giving my objections.
Just finish your question. I mean, your statement.
But yes, Your Honor, I don't believe it's relevant to the case. I don't believe that I don't believe that he's able to answer that question given his compromised mental state that he's already testified to regarding the incident. And also, there's not much evidence to back up his statement that it was in operating, standard, etc.
And the plaintiff would rebut in saying that he did testify prior to the incident, before they left their compound, the events there, and being around Sandy. So this is asking prior to the incident of which he was able to testify.
I'll allow the line of questioning.
All right, so just to repeat, Mr. Legend, did you check your motorcycle prior to embarking on the ride on February 14th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all of our questions, Your Honor.
State, respondent, I'm sorry.
1 second, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
No, Your Honor, we don't have any redirect or questions, but we still reserve him to be called for the respondent's case.
All right. Mr. Legend, you can go back down to the table. Just remember you're still under oath. Should you be recalled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your next witness, your next piece of evidence.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call Jackson Corsair to the stand, please.
If you want to speak up and raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, witness been sworn in?
Your witness.
All right. Can you please state your name for the record?
Jackson Corsair.
Can you also run us through the details of the incident that occurred on February 14th?
Absolutely. It was a beautiful day. Was Valentine's Day. Was out with my wife and my family, as well as some close friends. We have our ride like we do almost every Wednesday. We left the club, headed towards Sandy Shores, and we're going to turn left onto Route 68. Shortly after we turned onto Route 68, we were about probably 3 or 4-ish minutes onto the course, and a police officer was in the wrong lane of travel, coming at us very quickly. And as they were basically about to hit us, I pushed my bike to the side, and in order to kind of shield my wife and try and save her. And after that, it's kind of all blank. I don't remember anything after that until I woke up in the hospital with a right arm missing.
Okay. Prior to the actual crash, did the officer have sirens on?
None that I heard.
Did he have lights on?
He came at me so fast, even if he had lights on, I couldn't tell.
How fast did the officer drive around the corner?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
It's not speculation. I specifically asked how fast did the officer drive around the corner?
And Your Honor, are motorcycles equipped with radar or LiDAR systems that would give people the understanding of how fast someone's going when they're coming around the corner?
I'm not asking for specifics. It can be quickly, slowly, anything like that.
The state still objects to it.
Okay. I think it's already been stated. Hold on one second. Let me just reread. Yeah, it's already been stated in the original testimony, so just move on from this line of question.
Okay. What injuries did you sustain?
I sustained 60% liver loss. I sustained a missing right arm. It was fractured and they had to amputate because it was not unsalvageable. I sustained a rib poking into my lung. As you know, the major injuries, blood loss, came with that and passed out.
Okay, at this time, the plaintiff would like to submit into evidence Plaintiff Exhibit H, which is the medical report for Jackson Corsair.
Okay, noted.
We would also like to... We'll just continue our line of questioning. How have these injuries affected your daily life?
As a member of a motorcycle club, I was unable to ride my motorcycle for an extremely long period of time until I had to spend a large sum of money to purchase kits that converted my bike to be able to be driven one-handed. Obviously, it affected my life at home as I relied on my wife a lot more because missing an arm and being as hurt as I was incredibly encroaching on my day-to-day life. I pretty much had to be helped in every aspect of my life.
I'm sorry to hear that. Was your motorcycle damaged in any way?
Oh yeah, it was completely fucked. Said professionally, of course.
Okay. At this time, we'd like to submit Plaintiff Exhibit E, which is the invoice for vehicle repairs for Jackson Corsair. Mr. Corsair, could you please refer to that exhibit on on line 9 of the docket.
Okay.
I'm sorry, for court record, you said E?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I have it up.
Okay. Can you read the amount of which your repairs were?
$2,113.
Okay. Who was the technician that worked on your vehicle?
I believe they've kind of swapped hands, so I don't fully remember who it was.
That's okay. I think that's about it. Actually, can you tell us about the preparation prior to embarking on the actual ride?
Sure. Before we leave on a ride, we have everybody line up. Everybody checks over their bikes, make sure that they have enough fuel to make the journey. You know, no tires flat, nobody's leaking any oil or anything like that. And just make sure that nobody's bikes are, you know, unroadworthy. You know, we're riding in a pack, so if one breaks down or, you know, tire falls off, that could be pretty detrimental to the ride itself.
Could you go over some of the general safety procedures that your convoys go over having this public ride almost every week?
Absolutely. We have a gentleman in our club who goes by the title of road captain. He instills rules of the road in terms of they have a group of individuals that make sure that the club and the ride itself is safe, meaning no cars are, you know, riding up on the ride from the rear. You know, they will gesture for people to go around the ride, as well as if for whatever reason somebody drives into the convoy in the wrong lane of travel, or, you know, happens to hit us from the rear, they have specific safety precautions in place for those people to get immediate help, and 911 is called.
Okay, I believe that's all of our questions, Your Honor.
Respondent.
Hi, Your Honor. How's it going, sir? Can you tell me your name again? I'm sorry.
Jackson Corsair.
All right, Mr. Corsair. All right, just going to ask some clarifying questions based off the testimony you gave. That's going to be all right with you. So you say that, you know, you're in the ride and stuff. Where did you say the ride started?
Our compound, where it starts every week.
And where was the destination of this ride?
It depends on that day. It changes every ride, but we generally go up to Polito for a stop at a business.
Okay. So can you go into any more detail regarding the events that happened prior to the accident? You know, how
Objection,
do you remember
vague.
how? Okay, Your Honor, I'll expand. Like I said, can you, like, the speed that you guys were going, do you recall that? Do you recall your guys' positioning? You know, that kind of stuff. Do you recall any of that?
I can recall my own positioning, as I can only keep track of myself.
Okay.
I was in the front. Not the sergeant, sorry. The road captain who was leading the ride was to my left. I was to his right. So we were in the very front of the ride, and we were traveling at about 40 to 45 miles per hour.
Okay, so you're traveling 40 miles an hour. Okay. Have you taken any radar or LiDAR classes?
No.
Okay. Do you have any experience professionally as a, you know, with speeds and stuff like that?
Nope.
Okay. So you say that they were they were traveling at a high rate of speed. I mean, how can you say, like, you said you looked up, you saw them, and then you don't remember what happened after that? How can you just tell how fast they were going or not?
I mean, I can't give you an exact, but I know a baseball player throws a baseball really fast. So he was traveling really fast.
Okay. Were you wearing a helmet?
No.
You were not wearing a helmet.
No, it's not required in the state to wear a helmet.
Okay. Did you have anything in your ears, earplugs, anything like that?
Nope.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Plaintiff.
We don't have any further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Can this witness be released from their subpoena, or does the respondent wish to keep them?
We wish to keep them, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Corsair, you can step down. Remember, you're still under oath, and you may be recalled.
Thank you,
sir. Your next witness or next piece of evidence?
Yes, we'd like to call Macy Corsair to the stand, please.
Make sure you're speaking up and raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth? All right, witness been sworn in.
Your witness.
Hello, can you please state your name for the record?
Macy Corsair.
Do you mind running us through the events of the ride on February 14th?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for a narrative. We've been allowing this the past couple times, but now it's kind of just getting out of hand, and the counsel needs to ask direct questions.
This is laying the foundation for basically every witness. We're asking about testimony as to the events that happened.
Okay, then you can ask this witness specific questions, but the state keeps its objection for narrative.
Is there cause to believe that this witness is going to recall anything different than the first two witnesses?
No.
Okay. Then the court's gotten the testimony. I've written it down twice, so we can. I understand where you're going. And just move on from the narrative portion of explaining the background of the incident.
Okay. Mrs. Corsair, what were your preparations before the ride, if any?
I don't really play a big role in that. Essentially, I just ride in the back with my husband.
Okay, so you were on your husband's motorcycle?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe the injuries that you sustained after this incident?
Yes. I had a moderate concussion. I remember I had like a big gash to the back of my head. It was bleeding. I had a couple of scrapes and bruises as well.
Okay. At this time, the plaintiff would like to submit Exhibit I, which is the medical report from Macy Corsair.
One second. All right. Hold on. Really quickly, I apologize. Can the witness just restate their injuries?
Yes. I had a mild concussion. I had a gash at the back of my head, bleeding, as well as some scrapes and bruises around my body.
Okay. And then I notated the submission of Exhibit I.
Okay, thank you. When the incident occurred, did the officer have sirens on?
I didn't hear.
They have lights on.
It was happening so fast I couldn't even tell if there was any lights.
It's okay. What lane of travel were they in?
Our lane?
And they were coming from the opposite direction?
Yes.
Okay, so they were in the wrong lane of travel.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, leading, and it's also leading.
That's fine, Your Honor. We don't have to ask that question.
Okay, it's been notated in a second.
How have your injuries affected daily life, if at all?
It only affected me for a week. I was on heavy rest because of the mild concussion. I was feeling nauseous, had some headaches. I was also experiencing some anxiety, not only for myself of like the stress of what happened, but also like my husband. He's been dealing with a lot as well. He lost his arm and he was in the ICU. So,
can you describe how the care of your husband has affected your daily life as well?
Yes, I had to be on his side for the most part. Just affecting his daily tasks. He can't cook. He can't even open doors sometimes, so I had to assist him with that. I had to start driving him to places as well. Just minor things like that.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we have, Your Honor.
Respondent.
Yes, Your Honor. All right. Just like I said to the other guy, can you say your name for me again?
AC Corsair.
All right, Miss Corsair, or Mrs. Apologies. So you said just to clarify, you said you had injuries on the scene. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why weren't you transported by an ambulance?
I believe there was no other ambulance. There were very low staff.
Well, you weren't transported by law enforcement either?
No.
Okay, so you were bleeding out of the back of your head, and you did not know, you didn't, did you tell officers that you were bleeding out of the back of your head?
I don't recall even any officers around me. I think they were attending to both Jax and Tommy.
Did you make any attempt to seek medical
Objection,
from officers
argumentative. He's been asking a lot of these questions just basically in different ways.
Your Honor, I'm asking questions that are relevant.
You can proceed with the question.
Ms. Corsair, do you need me to repeat the question, or do you have an answer?
Can you repeat the question?
Did you ever seek medical attention on scene from officers, paramedics, etc.?
No.
Okay, why is that?
I guess I was mainly concerned that my husband was hit.
Okay. Did you ever lose consciousness on the scene?
No.
Okay, but just to clarify, you said you had a concussion?
I was diagnosed at the hospital.
Okay, and who diagnosed you? Do you recall that?
Dr. Cook.
Okay. What was your positioning, just to clarify, in the formation? Were you on the right or left?
Right.
Okay. And you said, were you wearing a helmet?
Sorry. I just want to clarify, just for court record, because I know this is probably going to end up playing a big role. When you say left or right, can you just advise from, like, is it from your point of view or from opposite point of view?
From my point of view, it's on the right.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, sure, no problem. So, were you wearing a helmet during this incident?
No.
Okay, were there anything in your ears?
No.
Okay, no, okay. I see you have glasses on. Are those prescribed, or is that just for looks?
Prescribed.
Okay, were you wearing those during the incident?
Yes.
Okay. So you said that everything happened so fast. Are those your words, just to clarify?
Yes.
Okay, so how can you be sure, being that it happened so fast, that the officers were in your lane?
They hit us?
Okay, could it not be possible that you were in their lane, being that it happened so fast?
No, they were in our lane.
Okay, and which was your lane?
The right. Or,
Okay.
From my perspective, yes, they're right.
Okay. How fast were you guys going?
Objection. The respondent has stated several times that there's no way for us to know the actual speed of things. So asking a question about that doesn't really add anything to this argument.
Objection, Your Honor. It's very relevant what speed they were going because they can look down and see their speedometer. One, I'm not asking how fast the LSPD officer was going because, yes, they can't determine that. Only the officer, who will later testify, will be able to tell us how fast he was going. But I digress. It's relevant to know her speed.
Miss Corsair was the passenger on the bike. I don't think there's any way she would have seen the speedometer. This is speculation.
I'll allow the question as long as it's not a guess. Otherwise, it'll fall under speculation. So go ahead.
I can't really tell you. I was the passenger, so I don't know.
Okay. Second, Your Honor, while I confer with counsel. Your Honor, we're good with our questioning. Just again, unless this plaintiff has any redirect.
Plaintiff, your witness again.
That's all the questions we have, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Corsair, you can step down. Just remember you're still under oath.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh. Sorry, your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call Derek Wilson to the stand.
Make sure you're speaking up and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth?
I do.
Witness been sworn in.
Hello.
Your witness.
First and foremost, can you give us your name and your rank in the department you work for?
Officer Derek Wilson, LSPD.
At the time of this incident, you were a cadet, correct?
Correct.
Congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you.
We will go ahead and ask you, why were you traveling under, I believe, what's called Code 3 to the place that you were on Route 68?
We were in the pursuit of a robbery suspect.
Okay. Did you have lights on?
Yes.
And did you have sirens on?
Correct.
Okay. How fast did you drive around the corner before you hit the convoy?
I believe it was around 70 or 80 miles per hour.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, at this time, Your Honor, we'd like to submit the plaintiff exhibit A, which is the police report number 23295.
Noted.
thank you. Officer, do you mind referring to this exhibit? This is on line 9 of the docket. And again, this is Plaintiff Exhibit A.
I see it.
Thank you. Do you mind reading that first paragraph there under debrief?
The whole
Objection,
thing?
Your Honor. Relevance. If she wants it read by a third party, she can ask the court clerk. The officer's not here to read.
That's fine. If the court clerk is able to read that line, that would be fine. Yeah, just the first paragraph, if you could, please.
February 14th, 2024, at approximately 21:45 EST, Detective Lombardi and Cadet Wilson were in hot pursuit of a red neon following an ATM robbery in North Vinewood. On radio, it had been called out by Deputy Barnes that the vehicle had crashed out on Route 68, crossing Joshua Road at the motel. Detective Lombardi and Cadet Wilson were attempting to catch up to the pursuit at that time when Cadet Wilson was driving the vehicle from Mount Vinewood Drive to Route 68 at speeds upward of 100 miles per hour.
Thank you. Officer Wilson,
Sir, you're going to have to come back out as well. You can't just come into the court.
Detective Lombardi wrote in his report regarding
Sir.
the speed?
I do not.
You're going to need to...
If we could we have the court take note? The testimony was, I believe you said 70, 75 miles per hour, but the report says 100.
No, I can hear
The court notates.
Thank you.
you. That was implied.
All right. Did you have a speedometer read on anyone in the convoy? I understand this happened very fast, but just to the best of your recollection.
I do not recall. No.
That's fine. What lane of travel were they in and what direction?
They were heading east on Route 68. Oh, correction, west.
In the correct lane of travel?
Yes.
Okay. In what lane of travel were you in? And in what direction?
I was in the correct lanes going, I think it was eastbound towards 68, towards Harmony.
That would be westbound, if I'm not mistaken. You said they were moving eastbound.
Yeah, no, I'm correcting myself. They were going westbound. I was going east.
How you doing?
Okay, thank you for that clarification. But you say that you were in the correct lane of travel?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. If I could I have the court clerk read the second paragraph of that debrief from that report?
Sure. Cadet Wilson was traveling eastbound on Route 68 and momentarily cut into the westbound lanes of travel to pass around a local driver. At that moment, the bikers from the Black Lotus public ride were coming westbound on Route 68. Cadet Wilson's vehicle struck at least two of the bikes, bringing the convoy to a halt. Detective Lombardi and Cadet Wilson immediately stopped and exited their vehicles to provide medical aid to the injured parties.
So again, Officer Wilson, I ask, do you disagree with what Detective Lombardi wrote in his report regarding your lane of travel?
No, I do not.
So you're saying he's correct?
He is correct, just like I said. We were traveling in the correct lanes until I had to pass a local driver.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So to pass the local driver, you pass into the opposite lane of travel momentarily.
Correct.
Thank you.
No containers.
Okay, so immediately after the crash, can you describe what actions you took?
Objection, your calls for narrative.
I'm not asking him about the whole story. I'm asking for what immediately happened after the crash.
It's still very open-ended and could be narrative, so the state remains the objection.
I'll allow it. Simply, and I'll give my reasoning for this. The only reason I will allow it is because this was already kind of touched on by previous. This will be the other side to kind of complete the narrative.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you need me to repeat the question, or?
Yes, if you may.
Okay. Can you describe to me what happened immediately after the crash? What actions did you take?
I awaited Detective Lombardi's direct orders because I did not know what to do as it was my second day.
So you hesitated? What happened after Lombardi?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can rephrase.
Thank you.
What orders did Lombardi give you?
Lombardi told me to look for any injured bikers.
Okay, and he was in the vehicle with you at the time of the crash?
Correct. He was my FTO.
Okay. Did you treat anybody on scene, if at all?
Give me just a second, please.
I did.
Okay, do you remember who you treated?
No, I do not.
Okay, that's fine. Did you repair your vehicle at the side of the road at any point?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
It was in our opening statements, and it's in the police report. Or, sorry, it's not in the police report. It was in prior testimony.
Your Honor, I still don't see a relevance. So, state maintains the objection.
Yeah, I'm going to allow it.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, give me one moment. Okay, did you repair your vehicle on the side of the road at any point after the crash?
I did.
Okay. You know about what time you did? Was it before or after? Here, I'll re-ask the question. Did you fix your vehicle before or after assisting someone medically?
Before.
Thank you. What happened? Did you go to the hospital directly after the incident, or did you go to the call that you were going to?
No, I directly went to pillbox.
Okay. Just to backtrack a little bit, did any other officers on scene arrive to help you and Detective Lombardi?
Yes.
Do you recall what officers were present?
Deputy, now Senior Deputy Aaron Barlow.
Is that the only officer you can remember?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. That was in February. Did any supervisors come and speak with you at the hospital?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Can you repeat the question and then provide a rebuttal?
Did any supervisors come talk to you at the hospital?
Rebuttal.
This is in regards to the incident, whether or not anyone followed up with him after what happened.
Your Honor, that's not relevant. If his supervisors came to talk to him or not.
I would say it is relevant because in the respondent's opening statements, they stated that he was following procedures and that LSPD ensured that they handled the situation appropriately.
I'll allow the question.
You need me to repeat it, officer?
Yes, please.
Did any supervisors speak to you at the hospital after the incident?
Yes.
Okay. Did you receive any sort of disciplinary action or follow-up on upon going over this incident? Oh my goodness. Are you okay, Magistrate?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Did you receive any sort of disciplinary action or any sort of, I guess, discussion over the actions that happened on that day?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
It applies to whether or not the LSPD handled it correctly or not.
I will keep my objection for relevance, and it's also unfair prejudicial effect that substantially outweighs the probative value of the question. So 2 objections, Your Honor.
All right, do you have a final rebuttal, plaintiff?
I believe it directly relates to my line of questioning on whether or not this situation was handled correctly by police command in regards to one of their cadets in this incident.
Give me one quick second to review something, and I'll give you an answer.
Absolutely.
I'll overrule the objection.
Okay, that's fine. So to repeat the question, did you receive any disciplinary action or any sort of talking to about this incident?
Yes, I did.
I think that is it for now. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, whenever you're ready.
All right. Lots to unpack here, isn't there, officer?
Yeah.
Okay. So, remind me, you were a cadet, correct, during the incident?
Correct.
Okay. How many sworn days of service did you have?
This was my second day on the job.
Okay. So you said you were going westbound, is that correct? Or was it eastbound? Just so we can clarify that.
Asked and answered. We've already clarified this.
We're allowed to clarify during cross. I asked them to review court procedures.
I'll overrule.
I was going eastbound.
Okay, so you're going eastbound. And how fast did you believe you were going?
I believe I was going around 70 to 80 miles.
Okay. So the way the plaintiff kind of made this sound is that you were kind of changing your statement. So I just want to clarify. You said in the report, we read that you were going 100 miles an hour at one point during the pursuit. So I need you to clarify, were you going 100 miles an hour or were you going 70 through or 80 miles an hour? Can you clarify this?
Yes, I was going from Mount Vinewood Drive 100 miles per hour, but once I reached Route 68, I was heading around 70 to 80 miles.
Okay. Were you a part of the report writing process with Detective Lombardi, or did he just write that himself?
I believe Lombardi was the one that wrote it.
Okay, you believe or you know?
I was not the one writing it, basically.
Okay. So, Detective Lombardi, you said he was a passenger of your vehicle, is that correct?
Hey, Chief, hey,
Correct. He was my FTO.
Okay, what does FTO stand for?
Field training officer.
Okay. So, let's go back to your first day. Were you driving on your first day or were you in the passenger seat?
On my first day, I was just in the passenger seat.
Okay. So, from your experience in the passenger seat, did you always know how fast the vehicle was going?
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up. All right. So going back to the collision, okay, to clarify, you had your emergency equipment activated. That includes your siren and your lights, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Correct me if I'm not wrong, but there's several sirens when, you know, you're operating an emergency vehicle. There's an intersection siren, there's a passing siren, and there's a normal siren that's used when you're just going through normal traffic. Is that correct?
Objection. Respondent is testifying. I don't know that this is information that the respondent has.
That's why I'm asking the witness to clarify if that's correct or not, Your Honor. We're allowed to lead during cross.
You are allowed to lead. Can you just re-ask the question? I'm sorry.
I was asking if there's different phases of a siren, if a normal siren, an intersection siren, and a passing siren, or something along those lines.
I'll allow it.
All right. Can you answer the question, officer?
I'm not entirely sure if we have a name for each siren. I was just using the standard one.
Okay. All right. So when you pass the local vehicle, did you attempt to use your air horn as well, or were you just using your normal siren?
I was just using my normal sirens.
Okay. Let's go back to the initial scene to clarify it. So how did the call come out to you when you initially received it?
There was a robbery in progress. Involved a red vehicle with 3 suspects.
Okay. Did that come out as they were possibly armed, or no?
I do not recall.
Okay. In your training, your experience, when someone robs something, are they normally armed?
Objection. He's asking for an expert opinion. This is not an expert witness.
I'm not asking for it. I'm asking in his training and experience, Your Honor. That's literally
training
what the
and
question
experience.
said.
That's his expertise.
Your Honor, he's... Okay, I'm just going to let you rule on that.
Can you repeat the question?
In your training and experience, do subjects that are normally in a robbery, are they armed?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 questions here. I'll ask the first one. Okay. For the when you're pursuing a someone for a traffic violation compared to a robbery, do you handle those 2 situations differently? Like, for example, are you a little more, cautious when you're chasing someone for a minor traffic violation like speeding, or are you just balls to the wall, for a lack of a better term?
Objection. Relevance. We're here to talk about the crash that happened on February 14th and not about the robbery that was happening that the officer was going to.
Your Honor, it's direct correlation. I mean, we're here to establish if the officer was responding to a quote true emergency as dictated by, you know, pre-standard case law, as well as due regard. Due regard is if someone was responding to a true emergency, and we're here to determine if was this a true emergency that the officer was responding to. Because if it wasn't, then why was he code 3 in the first place? As you know, or if it was a true emergency, that would explain why he was lights and sirens.
Oh,
so officer, I'm going to ask again. Do you handle the two situations differently? If you're chasing for a normal speeding violation compared to a 3 robbery, possibly armed suspects?
Yes, compared to a normal, like you said, speeding infraction, exercise more caution towards robberies.
Okay. So, just with your limited experience at the time, how many pursuits have you been involved in at the time of the accident?
I do not recall.
Okay, that's fine. Again, it was back in February, so. Okay, going back to the scene. Okay, you said some things seemed a little inconsistent to me, so I want to clarify those. You said when you got out of the motor vehicle after the collision, you were awaiting your FTO's orders. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. In the meantime, is that when you started repairing the vehicle, when you were waiting the orders, or did you hear the detective's orders and then, you know, repair the vehicle?
No, I repaired the vehicle much later.
Okay. Okay. So just correct me if I'm wrong. So you got out of the vehicle, Detective Lombardi told you to start looking for the other subject for medical. You went, provided medical, and then after that you returned to the vehicle to repair it. Is that correct? Or can you clarify anything in that?
I got out of my car. I got the orders from Lombardi to look for another injured individual. I ran around, looked for him. I couldn't find him, and I went to repair my car to further increase the search grid.
Okay, so your intent was to get in the vehicle and look around for more injured parties. Is that correct? Is that what you're testifying to?
Correct.
Okay. So initially on the scene, you only saw one down person, and that person was already being treated by Detective Lombardi. Is that correct?
At the initial scene on the bridge, yes.
Okay. Where did this second person come from?
I am not entirely sure, because when I looked around the bridge and the surrounding grass patches around it, there was no one to be found.
Okay. Do you know if someone moved that person? Like, did you see how they got there? I'm just trying to understand that.
I did not see, but once I after I repaired my vehicle, he was on the bridge.
Okay, so after you repaired your vehicle and you witnessed him or you observed him, what did you do from there?
As soon as I noticed him, I got out of my car. I rushed to administer as much first aid as I was knowledgeable at the time.
Okay. Do you remember which individual it was that you gave medical to?
Objection asked and answered. He's already testified he didn't know.
Objection, Your Honor, is clarifying. Just asking again if he remembered. Was it the person to my right or my left? I guess you can look at them.
I'm going to sustain.
Can we clarify on that, Your Honor? What?
Move on from the question. You've already asked it.
Your Honor, I never asked which subject he gave medical to. That was the plaintiff in this case, and
Never mind, you can go ahead and ask the question.
okay. Do you remember which person you gave medical to? Was the person, I guess, right here that's in the wheelchair, the person that's sitting down right here? Do you recall? I'll step away so you can look at them pretty good.
I do not recall, no.
Okay. All right, that's fine. One second, Your Honor, while I for counsel. Officer, just to clarify, to kind of bring to light some of why you might, have had some issues with this testimony. How many times have you testified in court?
None.
Okay, so this is your first time testifying?
Correct.
Have you ever received any type of formal training on how to testify in court?
Objection relevance?
Your Honor, I'm glad she asked that. Obviously, during the initial phase of questioning, there are some portions of his testimony that did not line up with not only the statement of Detective Lombardi, but also his testimony. Given that I was allowed to cross, I was able to clarify everything, in my opinion. So I'm just trying to clarify for the court so the court can have it on record that this is his first time testifying. He's never received any type of formal training on how to do it, so that might, be why he was not having, those issues arise.
I'd rebut in saying that as I can't coach people how to react in court, same goes for the respondent and the state. I can't coach them or teach them how to respond to things in court.
There is absolutely times when you can have formal training on how to testify. I've taught those classes to officers in MRPD briefing, where we talk about how to testify, what's important to testify to, procedures while in court, because they're not lawyers. They've not gone through this. They don't know certain things. So that's why I'm asking if he's had training on this or any type of formal, how to do this. Again, this is his first time testifying.
Okay, I'm gonna ask that you move on, just simply because it's out of scope from the original testimony. If you want to ask, you can come on direct.
Okay, no problem. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Plaintiff.
Yes, I just have one further question. While on scene, while you were awaiting orders or you were trying to search for injured parties, did anyone on scene try to direct you to any of the injured parties?
Can you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. So you said that you were looking for injured persons to assist. Did anyone try to direct you to any of those injured parties?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. That's our only lead-up question.
Respondent.
Not at this time, Your Honor. We reserve the right to recall him, yada, yada, yada.
All right, Officer Wilson, you can step down. Just remember, you're still under oath. Your next witness or next evidence?
The plaintiff would like to submit Plaintiff Exhibit B and C, which is photos of Route 68 where the crash occurred from both the westbound and eastbound perspectives.
Exhibit what and C?
B, C, and actually D as well. It's the GPS location of the crash. And this is just to provide context and visual representation of what each, the eastbound and westbound passengers and riders, what they saw from their angles, and also the actual location of the crash overall.
Okay. Noted.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead and call Chase Turner to the stand, please.
Hello. Make sure you're speaking up and raise your hand. All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth? When it's persuaded.
Thank you. Can you please give your name for the record?
My name is Chase Turner.
Okay. We already know all the details surrounding the actual crash. Where were you in the convoy on that day?
If I'm not mistaken, I was actually directly behind Jackson Corsair.
Okay.
In the right.
Okay. From your perspective, did you hear any sirens?
I did not.
Did you see any lights?
I did not.
What lane of travel was the officer in?
In the incorrect lane of travel, which would have been our lane of travel.
So that was going which direction? Westbound. Okay. Immediately after the crash, did you see any officers assist?
I did not.
Okay. Was there, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. There was an officer present on scene though, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was that the officer that just testified or a different officer?
Objection, Your Honor. The last two questions have been leading. This is direct, so we need to stop asking leading questions, Your Honor.
That's fine. I can rephrase. Which officer did you see immediately on scene?
If I'm not mistaken, because he's the only one I haven't seen tonight, he's the one that's not here this evening.
Okay, that's fine. Did you see any officers repair the vehicle that crashed?
I did not.
Okay. What were you doing immediately after the crash?
Immediately after the crash, I hopped off my bike and I went over to the other side of the bridge on the hill because everybody was saying that somebody was ejected off their bike, and I went to go look for Jackson and Macy.
Okay. Did you manage to find them?
I did. I was the one that located Jackson next to a tree.
Okay. Did you try to direct any of emergency services, whether that be police, EMS, anybody? Did you try to direct anyone to that person?
I wouldn't say directed. I waited with him until somebody arrived. Somebody that's trained.
Did you have any communication with anybody else in the convoy to convey where you were?
It's like 2 months ago. I don't 100% know. I may have told them at least that I have located Jackson, where specifically I was.
Do you have any sort of like first aid training, anything like that?
I do not.
Okay, so you wouldn't have known how to assist at that moment, besides just staying with him.
Correct.
Did any other officers appear on scene after the crash had occurred?
I only recall one officer. I believe it's Mr. Lombardi. He's the only one I saw and interacted with.
Okay. Did you know Detective Lombardi prior to this incident, so you would recognize him, or?
I know of him, I don't think we've ever met, to be honest. I don't recall.
Okay, that's fine. I believe that's it from me.
Respondent.
Yes, Your Honor. All right. What's your name again, sir?
Chase Turner.
All right, Mr. Turner. Just some clarifying questions for you. So you said you found which party by the tree?
Jackson Corsair.
Okay. When you found Mr. Corsair, did you touch him at all?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, with your permission, if I can go into a little bit direct questioning, as this is one of my witnesses, this would help with the time of this trial. If not, I can reserve some of those questions for when it's my case.
Any objection from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So you said that you did not touch him by the tree. So who did? Who moved him?
I don't even recall, to be honest. I don't recall who moved him at that point.
Okay. Did you try to call out for anyone, or was it just you kind of just, being there with your friend? I mean, is it?
No, there was another person there, but I couldn't tell you at this particular time who was standing next to me until Officer Lombardi showed up.
Okay, so Officer Lombardi showed up to you at the tree?
Yes.
Okay. All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Plaintiff?
I don't have any further questions. And if the respondent is done asking their direct questions, we'd be okay to release this witness from subpoena.
Yes, Your Honor, I don't have to.
Okay. Mr. Turner, your release of your subpoena. You can leave the courtroom as you so please.
Thank you.
Your next witness.
Your Honor, before we ask to approach.
All right. If you're a witness, please listen very closely. If your name is not listed, you are released of your subpoena and you may leave the court. The people that cannot leave and will remain required to stay in the courtroom. Erin I didn't write everyone's full name. All right, whatever. I'm sorry in advance. Barlow, Macy, Cook, Jackson, Tommy, Murray, and Chewy. If your name has not been read out, you're released of your subpoena and you can leave the courtroom as you so please. Plaintiff, you can continue with your line of questioning. I'm just going to step down for 1 second.
Okay. Whenever we're ready to continue, I'd like to call up Calvin Shuey.
Go ahead.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, witness been sworn in.
Your witness.
Thank you. All right. Just for the record, can you state your name and your place of employment, please?
Calvin Shuey. I work at Bruiser's Gym.
Okay. Have you ever worked at Raven Repair?
I have not.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting my witnesses all mixed up. Excuse me. Okay. So you were at the public ride on February 14th, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you were not affiliated with Black Lotus Motorcycle Club in any capacity,
I am
not.
Your Honor, again, these are leading questions. I'm not going to make a formal objection.
I can rephrase. Are you part of any motorcycle club?
I am not.
You frequent the public rides?
I try to, yeah.
Okay. Did you witness the crash from your perspective in the convoy?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you recall the immediate actions of the officer on scene?
I do.
Okay. Do you mind relaying those to us?
Yeah, so he seemed a little frazzled. He ran down the street, like halfway down the road, and back, and then started repairing his car, and everybody else was trying to retrieve the people who crashed or who got hit.
Okay. Do you mind relaying at what point did the officer repair his vehicle from your perspective?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
This has never been asked of this witness, and I think having that third-party perspective is useful to the whole context of the situation.
Your Honor, he just testified to when the vehicle was repaired. So,
do you mind repeating it? Because I might not have heard it, or we can have the court clerk relay what was said.
So can you relay?
Yeah. So
No. This is the clerk. Sorry. Okay. And for expediency, can the witness just repeat? There's no objection.
what was the question again? I'm sorry.
What did the officer do right after the incident?
He got out of his car. He ran down the road, kind of because we were on like a bridge. Didn't really speak with anybody. He just kind of like ran down, looked around, and then ran back to his car and started repairing his vehicle and speaking on radio.
Okay. Did anyone approach that officer and try and tell him where injured parties were?
Many people. Yeah, it was a chaotic scene.
Okay. Did you locate anyone that was injured? Or were you just a witness to the events?
I was part of the search party. I stayed on the bridge mostly, but I did see one person fall off the bridge, and I know there was a search for a second one, and I was helping I believe Tommy, who was on the bridge still.
Okay. Where were you in the convoy?
The back third or so.
Okay. Did you happen to hear lights? Or sorry, not hear lights. Did you hear sirens or see lights?
Did not.
Okay.
Where it happened was kind of around a curve, so I didn't even see the vehicle until it was smashing through the group.
Okay. Did you happen to see what lane of travel that officer was in?
Our lane, so opposite lane he should have been in, going east in a westbound lane.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Madden.
Yes, Your Honor. All right, sir, just to get right into the nitty gritty. So you said you were in the back portion of the convoy, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and just to clarify your affiliate, like, do you have any friends that are in Black Lotus?
Yeah, I have a friend who's a prospect, and I'm friendly with a lot of the patch members.
Okay. How much interaction have you had with Black Lotus?
Not too much. Outside of public rides, I may come there one day out of the week, if that, to come have a cigarette and chat for a while.
One day is pretty often, wouldn't you say?
I wouldn't say, no.
Okay. How many public rides have you been on with them?
Over the last couple of years, I would say around 20.
Okay. Your Honor, we're going to object that they're a neutral party, being how much interaction they have with the motorcycle club, how many public rides they've been to, and their friends that are in the club. I just want to make that objection on record. We're not necessarily asking for a ruling right now on it. As you've said, you're not going to be issuing one today. We just want that reflected on when it comes to his testimony.
The court will notate it.
This is over the course of a couple years. I just also want notated.
Yeah, the court will notate and take under advisement.
Okay. All right. So you said you were part of the search party. Which was the first person that you guys found? Just so we can clarify that.
It was Tommy. He was on the bridge, and then I had also witnessed somebody else fall over the railing. And from what I understood, there was a second one as well.
Who is this someone else? Do you know?
It was Jax, I believe.
Is that someone that's here? I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. Or are you talking about which
It's
person?
Jackson Corsair.
Okay, all right. Okay, so he fell over the railing, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So how did Mr. Corsair end up back on the bridge?
I did not witness that, as I was on the bridge helping tend to Tommy and trying to get bikes off the road and get everybody,
Okay. How many
safe.
people were treating Tommy? Like, how many people were like around him, would you say?
There was one person kind of trying to hold pressure on his wounds, and then there was, I think, 2 or 3 others around, just trying to be whatever help they could be.
Okay. Was there any room for anyone else to really get in there? I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of people around him.
No, pretty quickly, people started mentioning to give him room and things until there was only one person kind of holding his wounds, and another person was just trying to make sure he was comfortable and he was getting plenty of space.
Okay. So you said it was a very chaotic scene. I mean, those are your words. Is that correct?
It was stressful. Chaotic may have been the wrong word.
You don't think it's chaotic for a bunch of bikers to get hit by a police vehicle?
It was violent.
Objection, argumentative.
Can you just rephrase, please?
I'll move on, Your Honor. So you described the cadet as running around. What was your word? Frantically? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say he was kind of panicked? I mean, is that reasonable to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've seen him running up and down the bridge, is that correct?
He ran down once and then back to his vehicle.
Okay.
Maybe halfway down the bridge. It was 30 feet or so, and then back to his vehicle.
Okay. All right, that's all my questions for now, Your Honor.
Plaintiff?
That's all of our questions. And if the respondent doesn't have any more, we're okay with this witness being released from his subpoena.
Your Honor, if we could just reserve him as an impeachment witness for our case, for our direct testimony in case anything goes against what he said.
Mr. Sure, you can step down, but you're still under oath. Your next witness.
Yes, we'd like to call Nick Murray to the stand.
Oh, sorry. Before you can continue to approach, we're gonna go into a 2 or 3 minute recess. You can swear him in, and then we're gonna go into a quick recess.
All right, you can speak up and raise your hand.
Yep.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, witness been sworn in.
Okay. Give me about 2 minutes.
Can you please say your name and state where you are currently employed?
My name is Nick Murray. I work at Beaker's Garage, formerly known as Raven Repair.
Okay. I just want to direct you to a piece of evidence real quick. Okay. The respondents have already agreed to not refute one of these invoices, but which one were you concerned about? Is the one for Jackson or Tommy?
If you're asking Mr. Schumann, he is in his head currently, so we may have to wait for an answer, because I don't know his answer to this.
Okay. Do you happen to know via the records that Raven Repair has whether or not this both vehicles were repaired by Raven Repair?
Yes, they both were.
Do you happen to know the technicians that worked on each vehicle?
I do, yes.
And who would they be?
Fort Jackson Corsair's vehicle, it was Anthony Stuyvesant. And for Tommy Legend's vehicle, it was Karina Bale.
Okay. That's really the only clarifying questions that I had.
Can the respondent approach, Your Honor?
I believe he met the witness, Your Honor.
I'm whispering. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. I just have one question for you, sir. So just to clarify, you did fix Tommy's bike, correct?
I did not, but I have the records to show that they were fixed by Raven Repair.
Okay. We have no further questions, Your Honor?
Plaintiff?
I have no further questions as well.
Can they be released?
Yes, from our perspective.
Respondent?
Yeah, I mean, he can be released, but we have an objection or a motion, sorry.
Is the motion for this witness?
Yes. I mean, he can be released, but...
What's the motion?
We asked that it's straight from the record. At no point was any evidence provided to the respondent about some type of whatever he was referring to when it comes to the record, their internal records. So we just asked that his testimony is stricken from the record because he's testifying to things that are not an exhibit in the case.
I mean, I can ask a question to clarify how he knows, but...
And then he was not there for the only bill that we're contesting. So I mean, again, it's not relevant.
I'm gonna be honest. I did not take notes for this witness. So can I just be given the question that was asked? It was like one question, right?
Yeah, we asked if he was present to fix Tommy's bike or not. He said no. Tommy's is the only one that we're contesting due to how many accidents has been in prior.
Okay, and what was your question, Miss Attorney? I'm so sorry.
Hydra Dalton.
What was your original question?
Can you confirm? I will just because you have no record or anything like that. Who repaired Tommy Legend's bike at Raven Repair?
Karina Bale.
And she was employed there at the time?
Yes, she's been employed there since February of 23.
Okay. Any objections to that, respondents?
Yes, how does he know that? Is he reading something that the court does not have any access to? We're not seeing?
What's your position at Raven Repair? Or what was it?
I'm the director.
Okay. So this is information you would be privy to?
Yes.
And could confirm that this exhibit for Tommy Legend, Exhibit F on line 9 of the docket, you can confirm that that is from your records?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I'll allow the line of questioning and all of it, and it'll stay on the record.
Fine, Your Honor.
All right. Can they be released? I apologize.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You can release your subpoena. You can leave as you so please. I like your shirt.
Likewise.
Okay. The last person we would like to call is Dr. Justin Cook.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Cook, remember you're still under oath, so you do not need to be re-sworn in.
Okay. Just for the record, can you please state your name and your position and occupation?
Yes. My name is Dr. Justin Cook, and I am the Surgeon General for the San Andreas Medical Services.
Just for the court record, has been discussed already in sidebar, that the respondents aren't refuting the injuries sustained to Mr. Legend or to Mr. Corsair. I'd like to direct you to the plaintiff exhibit I, which is the medical report from Macy Corsair on line 9 of the docket.
And just to clarify that, Your Honor, we're not saying that we're not refuting their injury. We're just not refuting their report. Just to clarify.
Okay.
Wait, can you clarify that you're not refuting, or you are refuting, or not refuting the report?
Not refuting the report, but the injury. We're not refuting the report. The way you said that was weird, so I just wanted to clarify it.
Okay. Dr. Cook, can you describe the treatment of Macy Corsair and the injury she sustained?
I can't. So the injury she sustained is consistent with a concussion and whiplash, which is fairly common for an MVA, or more commonly known as a motor vehicle accident. Treatment involves what we like to call concussion testing. Basically, we test cognizance of the patient, and we also test pupil dilation.
Okay. Did you give her any instructions for aftercare?
I did. For aftercare, I can.
Yeah, if you could expand.
Yep. For aftercare, rest is the most important thing, especially with a concussion and whiplash. Additionally, also, painkillers is also very important, along with icing any injury sites as well that might be causing it.
Okay. That's all the questions that I had.
Respondent, remember you're going to be doing your direct examination during this as well.
Yes, Your Honor. If we can just start off with cross on that, and then we can go into direct.
Can you just advise the court for just notational records when you go into direct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right. Just to clarify some of those questions, Doctor. So, you said you did a concussion protocol. Could you kind of go into detail what exactly the concussion protocol is? I know you went over it briefly, but can you just go into detail for the court?
So concussion protocol, essentially, we're asking the patient questions, like cognizance questions, like what day it is. We're checking for past concussion history. If it's severe enough, we are taking scans as well. But essentially, it's basically questions to determine how much the patient can remember.
Okay. Physically, what do you look for?
Physically, we look for pupil reaction, especially for concussions. It's hard to see a concussion per se, since it involves the brain hitting the front and back of your head.
So when you talk about the pupil, are you talking about resting nystagmus, or what are you referring to when it comes to the pupil reaction?
We're looking for pupil motion consistency, if it's slow or if it's not reacting properly. Okay.
Did the individual that you treated, did they have any resting nystagmus, or did they have any onset nystagmus, any nystagmus at all?
They did not.
Okay. So were you present during the questioning of the client? And we're going into direct, Your Honor, now to be clear on that.
Thank you.
Were you present during your patient's questioning?
I was, yes.
Okay. Did you hear your patient state they never went unconscious?
I did, yes.
Okay. And did you hear your patient state that obviously they were able to recall the event without any issues? Did you catch on to that?
I did.
Okay. Is that consistent with a concussion?
It is.
Okay. Can you go into detail about that?
Because there are different grades of concussions. grade three concussion is where it is consistent with like 24-hour amnesia. However, Macy did not show any signs of that.
Okay. All right. Going into some of the other questions that I have for you, more so as an expert in this case. So, not sure if you catched on, but one of the individuals, Mr. Corsair, could you look at his medical report that's on the docket? Let me get the exhibit number 1 second.
Plaintiff Exhibit H on line 9.
What she said.
Okay. I am looking at it currently.
All right, let me get it up quicker than me on that.
Okay.
Okay, so can you kind of just, for lack of a better term, kind of dumb down what we're looking at here, what kind of injuries, and kind of explain them to us?
Objection. I thought the respondent wasn't going to really refute anything regarding Mr. Corsair or Mr. Legend's injuries, so I don't know why we're discussing this one.
Clarify, I'm not refuting the report, but I want the expert witness to testify as an expert to the report.
Let's go to a quick sidebar and discuss everything really quickly, just to get this quickly out of the way.
All right, doctor, have you had some time to review the medical report?
I have, yes.
Okay, can you just outline the type of injuries that we're looking at here?
They're very severe injuries, obviously. They would be what I'd say consistent with a motor vehicle accident.
Okay. Can you just go into detail so that we can start looking into each of those injuries? Okay, so these injuries, like you said, they're consistent with a motor vehicle accident. In your expert opinion, when someone's involved in a motor vehicle accident, what are the initial steps that need to be taken? Because not only are you, a doctor, but you also have first responder experience. Is that correct? Or correction in the ER. Is that correct? You said
I am a first responder, but not necessarily in field treatment.
I'm referring to your experience in the ER.
Oh, I see. I treated many cases in the ER before.
Okay. When you're treating someone that's had these type of injuries, is it important to secure certain portions of them, or can you go into detail about that?
It's important to
Objection leading. He's asking specifically about the keeping them a certain way or whatever, and just not letting the doctor testify.
Your Honor, I'm not an expert in terminology and medical, so I'm not sure how to ask him the question without being somewhat leading. So,
can you ask the question really quick?
When you have a patient that's had these type of injuries, is it you have to secure them in a certain position or that type of thing? That was a question.
And to review my objection, I was arguing it was leading.
For the sake of time, I'll quickly allow
it. Doctor, you need me to repeat it, or do you?
If you could repeat that.
So when someone obtains or gets these type of injuries, do they need to be secured in a certain position, or what's the process on that?
Obviously, diagnosing the injuries is important first, and that determines our plan of action.
Okay. Did you hear in the testimony that this person or the plaintiff that we're talking about here was moved? Were you present during that testimony?
I was.
Okay. Do you believe that moving him without proper medical training could enhance his injuries in any way?
It could. However, I'm not in field medicine like Sappher.
Okay. I'm only asking on a theoretical and then, an expert knowledge. Like, if someone right now were to...
Yes.
Okay. Can you expand on that and why that is the case?
Movement of somebody with injuries is never advised, just because someone may not have the knowledge in order to secure each injury.
Okay, so just to clarify, moving someone that's had those type of injuries can enhance their injuries.
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
I have a question for the court clerk, if we could refer to court record, just because I think that I missed it. Where in the testimony did anyone refer to moving Mr. Corsair? Maybe the respondent can help with this, because I cannot recall.
Your quote independent witness stated that he was moved from the bridge or from the tree up to the bridge, but he couldn't recall who moved him.
I believe he said that Tommy was on the bridge and Jax had fallen off of the bridge. I don't remember him saying that he was moved to the bridge. So if we could get that clarification from the court clerk, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, 1 minute, please.
Just to be clear, is the plaintiff saying that he was not moved?
I did not personally hear anyone say that he was moved, and maybe you heard something differently that I didn't. But I don't recall. I remember Mr. Turner saying that he was at a tree and there were people around, but that no one touched him. And then I heard that Tommy was on the bridge, but I don't remember there being any testimony saying that he was moved to the bridge. That being Jackson.
Your Honor, if you want, we can call up Officer Derrick and have him testify to it real quick. It's up to you.
I don't know that he testified to treating any which person in particular. If, in the interest of time, that we just want to notate that we'd like that looked into, then the court can, of their own volition, look up that fact and make a determination on that, whether or not he was moved.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do, because I'm not making the ruling today. I'm going to be reviewing the entirety of the transcript when I make my ruling. If it was notated, then everything will be considered. If it wasn't notated, it'll be taken into consideration.
Okay. And also personally, I don't recall, and I also could be wrong, I don't recall Tommy saying that his bike was repaired 9 times. I'm not sure where that came from. And again, I might have missed it, but if we could have that notated and looked into, that would be great.
He said it had been involved in 9 accidents.
I know he said several, but I don't recall that he used a specific number. So
okay. Either way, Your Honor, can we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With all of that in mind, I don't think I have any further questions for Dr. Cook.
Is there anything further from the respondent?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, can Dr. Cook be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Dr. Cook, thank you for your time. Your release of your subpoena, you can leave as you so please.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
If you want, yeah, it's a good court case though. It's okay.
Yes. Any other witnesses?
At this time, Your Honor, the plaintiff is going to rest, and we like to request like a 5-minute recess if possible.
Sure. We'll go into a 5-minute recess. We'll reconvene, and math is hard. Did the plaintiff rest? And everyone can be seated.
Yes, we rest, Your Honor.
Okay. The respondent, whenever you're ready, your first line of questioning, your first witness or evidence.
Yes, Your Honor. We're calling Senior Deputy Barlow to stand.
Barlow, go.
Alright, okay, make sure you're speaking up and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So, my God.
Alright. Just witness been sworn in.
Your witness.
All right, Senior Deputy, could you introduce yourself, your experience, or how long you've been with the force?
Senior Deputy Aaron Barlow. I have been with the force since late December.
Okay. Were you involved in the incident on February 14th?
As a responding officer after the incident took place, yes.
Okay. When you first initially got on scene, could you go into detail what you first initially observed?
Sure. I had been up in Blaine County at the time doing a normal patrol when additionals were called out, us 78 over the radio to assist with a situation, at least one. I responded since I was closest unit that I would head that way. Once I hopped on TAC, I was explained that there was an accident, that I needed to get down there and rendezvous with the cadet at the time by Detective Lombardi. I arrived on scene. I parked my car up. I ran around trying to figure out what was going on. I first ran down to Detective Lombardi, asked him what was up. He said, "You need to get up to the cadet. He's up on the bridge." Asked a handful of people as I ran by where they were. They pointed further down past the the LSPD stand here, and then started helping with medical as soon as I got there.
Okay. What was the cadet doing when you observed him?
Providing medical when I arrived.
Okay. Who was he providing medical to?
A gentleman on the ground. I did not catch his name at the time. I was more worried about his condition.
Okay. Were both gentlemen on the bridge at the time, or no?
No, one was down below, down in the tree line.
Okay. When you arrived on scene, did you see, were those the only two patients that were complaining about any type of medical or anything?
As far as I was informed, that was the only two that I knew of that were in critical condition, yes.
Okay. Did anyone come up to you asking for medical help?
To my memory and knowledge, I do not recall due to the length of time.
Okay. All right. Being that you're a senior officer, could you go into detail regarding pursuits and how you guys respond to them?
Are you just talking a generalized pursuit? I'm just a little confused.
Oh, like I'm not sure if you were present earlier, but we talked about the differentiation of like a traffic infraction pursuit to an armed robbery pursuit or a robbery pursuit. Could you, further expand based off of your enhanced training and experience, the difference about the two?
Well, first and foremost, every situation is always going to be different. There's going to be no true set guideline 100% of the time that would dictate any response that will be similar. We approach situations as best as we can according to what knowledge we have, and then figure out how to handle it from there based on the type of situation we are approaching.
Okay. Looking back to when you were, 2 days on the job, if you were involved in an incident like this, would it be reasonable to say that you'd have an elevated emotional response?
You're asking what I would have reacted like during my cadet phase, correct?
Yes, you 2 days on the job.
I would have probably had a elevated response of some type, yes.
So I guess as a law enforcement officer, what kind of helps you get used to incidences like that?
I truly don't think there's a justified answer for that, and I don't feel comfortable answering that because everyone reacts differently. I'd only be able to speak from my experience.
Okay. Would you say it's reasonable, from your experience, from the first time you responded to a traumatic event to, I guess we can say the most recent, does it get easier with time and experience, or is it just always different?
Objection. He's asking an opinion and we're dealing in facts.
Your Honor, this case deals with a reasonable officer, and we're looking at the reasonable officer, standard as set by your most recent ruling. Well, not most recent, I'm not sure, but you talked about Graham versus Connor, which is a reasonable officer. What would a reasonable officer do at the time? That's what we're trying to determine. This is a reasonable officer with more experience, and we're just asking clarifying questions regarding trauma response.
I'll argue that that's not standard case law in San Andreas and was not submitted.
Not sure if you know this, but Your Honor made his own ruling on it versus the...
I did, yeah. I forgot the name of the case. It was the Marshall case, but I did introduce a standard that was based off of Graham versus Connor, so I'll allow it.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, basically, I'm trying to... does responding to traumatic events get easier with time and experience? Or is it always just subjective?
And for clarification, you're asking on my personal level?
Yes.
I don't think there is a reasonable way for anyone to respond to a situation like that. It's a very hard question to answer. It's one of those ones that just spirals, so I don't know if I feel comfortable answering it.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Plaintiff.
I only have really one question. Because I don't know, I might be ignorant to the fact. Do officers undergo first aid training to respond to incidents like this?
Objection, Your Honor, outside of scope.
You were asking about who was treating who medically regarding the cadet and Senior Deputy Barlow. So I'm just trying to get some clarification there.
I never referenced the cadets training on first aid, so objection outside of scope.
She testified that he was treating somebody.
Your Honor, I'm going to leave it to you, but I still believe it's outside of scope.
Can you just quickly answer the question? Repeat the question.
Yeah, do officers receive first aid training to respond to incidences like this?
Sure, I'll just keep it short and concise.
We have a basic... No. I'm just... Okay. I'm dead exhausted, so bear with me.
You're fine.
We have a basic level of trauma response, yes.
Is that taught in police academy or is that in field training?
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Okay. That's really all the questions that I had, Your Honor.
Respondent.
Yeah. Just to clarify what you just said earlier, do the officers in academy or the recruits or the whatever they are called in the academy, do they receive medical training? Yes or no?
You're asking regarding the academy specifically?
Yes.
I believe so. I can't fully answer that comfortably.
Okay, so you're not sure,
long.
Just to clarify?
It's been very, very long since my academy.
Okay, just to be sure, you're not completely sure.
I just stated such, yes.
Okay. All right, Your Honor, based off of her not being able to recall it, we asked that portion of her testimony is stricken off the record.
Rebuttal.
What portion? Just in regards to
Just that she
people
doesn't
being
know if they were, if she doesn't recall that she was trained in FTO or if she was trained in the academy about first aid. We just asked that
I would
portion.
object to being stricken, but just notated in the record. Obviously, if she doesn't know, then there's not really anything there.
Leave it to you, Your Honor.
I'll notate it for the court record.
Okay. That's all, Your Honor. Questions?
Plaintiff.
We're done with this witness, Your Honor. We have no further questions.
Okay, can they be released?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Barlow. Your release of your subpoena. You can leave as you so, please.
Thank you.
Your next witness?
Officer Derek Wilson, Your Honor.
Is he here? Can't see my. There he is.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Remember you're still under oath.
All right, Officer Wilson. All right, so I'm going to be asking you a little more direct questions now compared to when we initially were talking to you during cross. So when you were you present during the testimony regarding someone saying that you were running down the bridge, you know, kind of just, I guess they described you in some type of emotional state. Do you recall that testimony?
I do.
Okay. Can you kind of go into detail about that?
I don't recall exactly what they said in what state I was.
I'm just asking, what was your state on the bridge? Like, what were you feeling?
Overwhelmed. This was my second day. Kind of lost on what to do.
Okay. So you like you said, you kind of felt lost. You didn't really know what to do. Did you rely on your field training officer?
Yes.
Okay. When they say they described you as initially you ran down the bridge, when you were running down the bridge, were you looking for, you know, another patient, you know, pursuant to your FTO's order that you initially testified to?
Correct.
Okay. And then when you, just for clarification, when you return back to the vehicle, that was when you were going to repair the vehicle so that you can broaden your scope of the search?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Plaintiff.
I only have one cross question. Did you feel comfortable being a cadet on your second day and driving in a pursuit?
Objection, Your Honor. That wasn't. That's outside of scope.
It's not outside of scope. It was directly asked, like, what day, like, how long he's been an officer. Obviously, he was frantic.
I never asked about his driving during my direct, Your Honor. So I asked that we see that this is outside of scope.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's outside of scope.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Your Honor?
I'm going to say that it's outside of the scope.
Okay. That's fine. We have no further questions.
Can I release?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, you're released from your subpoena. You can leave the courtroom as you so please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your next witness or next piece of evidence.
One second, Your Honor. Just confirm with counsel. Yes, Your Honor. Just all of the state's exhibits I want to bring to your attention for your review of the case. If you look at line 13 submitted by State Prosecutor Sonny Kavanaugh at the time, you will see that all of the invoices, GPS location, accident location, and accident diagrams were all submitted on behalf of the state. We just want those formally entered for your review.
Notated.
That's it, Your Honor.
Okay, are we ready for closing?
Yes.
Your Honor, if we could submit our closings, based off of how you were saying that this isn't going to be ruled on tonight, if we can do written closings, that's the state or the request of the respondent in this matter.
I would not object to that if that's more convenient for all.
Okay, but I will give you until 10 o'clock tomorrow night to provide your closing because I don't want this on my docket for much longer. It's already been on it long enough.
No problem, Your Honor. Can the court clerk supply the whatever the term is for it, the record?
I don't know. I will talk to him. I will not say that you will have it by then, but I don't know if I can expedite it that fast.
No problem, Your Honor.
At this point in time, this court will be adjourned. Like I said, we will be doing written arguments or written closing statements. I will not be providing a deadline on when I will give my ruling because that never goes well. But do expect it within a week maximum. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Case is
Thank you, Your Honor.